Este tío es un campeón.
¿Por qué? Porque puedo.
How important is the religious belief of your significant other?
What do you mean? How important? Like in what way?
Yeah, like how important is your significant other, your future wives, so basically your future wives' religious belief?
Oh,
How important is that to you?
Well, I mean, so there's a verse in the Bible that says, "Do not be unequally yoked."
Do not be unequally yoked?
Yeah.
So if you're yoked, you gotta be yoked too?
No, so I think the way it's explained is that when you're, so it's referring to like ox, or like, you know, they would use them to like do farm stuff, but you would, so yoke.
That's a yak, no?
No, this guy. It's they would put some kind of thing, and that was a yoke, but they would connect it to somebody, to another animal.
Oh yeah, it's two.
Yeah, so again, the two are supposed to go together. So if you put an ox with a different animal, they're not gonna get along. Like one's gonna do one thing or the other, so it just doesn't work. So it's supposed to be like a metaphor, like, you know, don't be unequally yoked. So don't choose somebody that doesn't have your same belief, that believes something completely different or something, because, you know, they're gonna affect your faith, they're gonna affect your walk and stuff. So honestly, like, I would say a serious Christian, someone who's actually serious about their faith and follows what God says, it would be very serious what their partner believes.
What would you like to know about Christian?
Oh, you scared me, bro. You scared me, dude. I was like, the Lord's talking to me.
Yeah, so yeah, you're never gonna get 100% everything perfect, right? You know, like the little things you agree with, but the core stuff, honestly, you should. It's very important. And again, I think any serious Christian, no, you're good. Any person that's serious about their faith, that's something that should matter, like that they're on equal ground. So again, equally yoked and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, a lot of people really try to find that. You know, not just in religion, but also politics and like other type of things. You know,
and you see, it works well. Like you have similar political views, you're in agreement. You know, and stuff. So yeah,
that makes sense. But I guess kind of diving into the Bible a little bit. What's your favorite story from the Bible?
My favorite story?
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
I think David's just his life.
Beating Goliath?
No,
becoming king?
I think it's part of that, like becoming king, because one of the reasons why God chooses him is because God says about David, I have found a man after my own heart. So, you know, God has his heart, what God wants, his desires, you know, how people should be living, and who he is, his character, God's personality. He says, I have found another person that, you know, definitely they want to follow me, and they have a heart to follow me and stuff. So I love that, but then I also, you know, I don't know if you know David's whole story where, you know, like he fails, right? He covets another man's wife. He goes after her. And instead of stopping and repenting, he keeps going further and further.
Oh,
and
what? Wait, okay, I'm sorry, guys, but I'm a fake. I don't know. I just know, like, the famous stories.
Yeah, the big ones,
The famous, right? Like, I know he became king.
Yeah.
I think I know some stuff that he did while he was king. You know, he was a very big story.
Yeah. He was like the best king, basically.
Yeah,
Israel
but
had.
I didn't know that, man. So please enlighten me on the story, because you just intrigued me.
So it's funny.
Hey, I was about to dab you up, but he got like he went after some guy's girl. I was like, damn, David.
No, so yeah, so it's funny. There's a little detail where he's the king. He's supposed to be somewhere at the start of the year. So that's how it starts off. He's supposed to be somewhere else. For some reason, he decides not to. So it says that he goes out. He sees this woman that's he sees that she's very beautiful. So again, it starts with you know, just the lust. And he already has different wives. Like, he's king. So at that time, you know, he had multiple wives. So he already had that. He still wanted more. He was coveting. He wanted more. So he takes this woman, finds out that later, you know, he gets her pregnant. So instead of admitting his fault, you know, stopping or admitting his fault, he's like, oh, well, like, I don't want her to get killed because they're going to find out that, you know, she cheated on her husband. So
which is a big offense.
Back then, yeah, it's extremely horrible and stuff. Even now, if we're honest, you know, like, it's bad, but, you know.
Yeah.
But what he ends
But
up
these
doing.
kids nowadays, man, these kids nowadays don't see that.
So what he ends up doing is that
You guys are unholy.
what he's doing, what he ends up doing is that they're in battle with another army. So he comes up with a plot, like a plan. So he tells one of his commanders that he trusts, like, hey, get that guy, which is the woman's husband. Tell him to push forward to fight, and once you see him like deep in like fighting the war, back out and leave him by himself. So basically, the plan was David used the enemy army to get the husband killed, and once he gets the husband killed, then he takes the wife, because again her husband died, so now she's single, and he takes her for himself and stuff. But what ends up happening is so she gets pregnant, she has a child, but so he sends one of the prophets to like the prophet gives him an example or like a story, like, hey, I have this story, I have this problem. David doesn't realize that it's about him, but he changes the story a little bit, and so the prophet's like, oh, what should I do? And David's angry. He's like, you know what, that person in that story deserves to die. But then when he gives his judgment after he judges the scenario, the prophet's like, it's you, like this story that I just told you, it's about you. And so in that moment he repents, he cries, and the prophet told him, the Lord has seen that you truly from your heart you repented, so he's removing your sin, you're not going to die. But what ends up happening is that the child, that his son that was gonna, or daughter that was going to be born, it dies and stuff. So in a sense, like, he was forgiven, but in this world all actions have consequences.
Oh boy, David.
Yeah, so I like that story because
that's actually a really good story.
So again, it shows like out of everyone, no one, Jesus being the only perfect one, right? But God said about this guy, like, he has a heart after my own. So he starts off like he's following God, but he fails and stuff. He failed in that area.
No one's perfect, man. Yeah, we can have our goals straight, but
everybody messes up.
Sometimes it just takes that one beautiful girl to live your life.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not specifically about the girl. I would say it's just the fact that it shows that he's
the one man who was chosen by God.
Yeah. He was doing a good job.
Commit.
He messed up.
A sin. Yeah.
Yeah, but even in that though, I also see like the lessons again. It started off small. He wasn't where he. That's literally all it was. He wasn't where he wasn't supposed to be. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But when he sees the woman, he could have stopped. Like, that's a lesson. You can stop right there. Like, but he kept going, and going, and going and stuff. So
that's one of the things that I really like about the Bible. Just all the life lessons that you gain from it, right?
Yeah.
All these experiences that you could live through, or not, well, that you could live through by the Bible, right? Yeah. Through the Bible. And it's a great work of art, bro. Well, not art, but like, it's a great work of like life lessons put together for someone to learn and just become better, right?
Yeah, I mean, we believe honestly it's great because God, the message was passed down by God, and people wrote it down, but it's God's message and stuff, and it's called the living word, because honestly, I would say anything that anyone is going through their life, you can find it in there, but it's not clear. It's like you need to have a willingness to, like, okay, I'm going to read this, and God is speaking to me. But a lot of people don't want to.
Right.
They don't want that relationship with God. So he's right there. He's waiting. Do you want to take that step and like learn about him and stuff?
Right. I feel like one of the big David was also probably one of my favorite stories. But his most famous one, I feel like, would always be the David and Goliath one.
Oh yeah, that battle. Yeah.
Just because. He defeated, the giant, and it just comes to the point where, just because just like I mentioned, the Bible is good because we could relate to it.
Yeah.
Every person could see themselves as every person in the story, of all the stories in the Bible, right?
Yeah. As you're going through life.
And when haven't we faced big adversities,
Yeah.
And just like that, he managed to overcome a big adversity.
Yeah.
And now you're speaking about another one of his stories that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
And, he repented and he knew the wrong of his ways, right?
He admitted it.
Right. What do you think? David's was it David had legendary descendants, or was David the descendant of someone? I think.
So there's an entire lineage.
Right.
So David is the descendant of like important people. So like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the main ones.
Right.
But then he also has children that leads to Jesus Christ.
Oh.
So like the entire genealogy is recorded in the Bible, because the whole God's entire plan at the end of the day, everything is pointing to Jesus.